Well, howdy there, Nexus heads. Garrett here with Kyle Fergusson, as always, and Mr. DunkTrain.
Hello, hello.
Dude, man, we're out here at BlizzCon 2017. We have found some surprisingly comfy couches for being in a public area. I figured they'd be worn out by now. But this is how we're going to do Into the Nexus at BlizzCon this year. And I'm kind of okay with this.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. So, real quick for everyone at home, we did record with Jeff, and the whole recording went bust. So, sorry. And he's not here. So, sad day. But, luckily, Dunk is here, and this recording is working. It's
I'm the
gonna
replacement.
Work.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, we were planning originally to do one with you anyway.
Oh, okay.
But
I feel better now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, exactly. Now we're just going to have to cover everything as opposed to, like, certain things. So.
Okay, cool.
So let's start with everything. Dude, what do you think of BlizzCon overall? Like not, it doesn't even have to be hero specific.
Okay. Every time I come to BlizzCon, I'm blown out of the water. Like, I just love it. The ambiance, the people, like, the cinematics when it opens, the nerd chills. It's all great. Every BlizzCon. So I have a blast. Like, this is probably my favorite weekend in the whole year. Every year.
Yeah, man. This was and you and I talked off air a lot about this, and I'm not want to put words in your mouth. I'll hand you the mic after this. But, like, for me, this was the most, I don't know, most anxiety I probably had going into it. It was the first time it really felt like a job this year. So I don't know. I was getting a little, like, it was the closest I think I've ever felt to cynical about BlizzCon. And then I got here and immediately remembered, like, the second you get here, like, no, you're an idiot. This is one of the greatest things in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this year for me was actually probably like the least responsibilities I've had. I'm not a pro player anymore. I was doing production work last year, so I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I was frantic the whole weekend. This time, I got to come to BlizzCon. I streamed the new content, had a blast, and then, like, no more responsibilities. It was amazing. I just got to watch esports. It was the best.
It was really special, and I think maybe I certainly entered it thinking, you done screwed the pooch, releasing Kel'Thuzad? What do we even have here? What are we going to do when we get here? Then they roll out, and maybe the two characters are a little over chummy to be having a battle. But I got to play them, and all my fears about Alexstraza went away. I'm still not sold on Hanzo, but
Same.
I've been playing so much Uther, and the idea of giving people my health percentage, a heal that has no mana costs. I just love everything about her.
Yeah, I did not expect Alexstraza to be so much fun. Like, I'm a little skeptical every time I hear a new support is coming out. I'm like, I remember Lucio, I'm not about that. And then, like, Stukov was amazing, Anna's super fun, and now Alexstraza seems to be, like, 3 in a row, just amazing new support heroes.
I'm definitely sold on Alexstraza. There's no reservation. I'm just like, yep, this is my new main. Everyone's just going to have to deal. I hope you weren't hoping I'd play anything else for you guys, because that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. So do we want to just, like, dive in on the kit, like, talk about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about the reveal a little bit.
Okay.
Let's keep riding just the overall BlizzCon wave, because that's, like, that whole damn opening ceremony. Like I said, I came into this like, oh man, I have a lot to do. I have a lot of traveling to do. I'm losing my mind. And then, like, the opening ceremony starts, and they have that, like, you know, Blizzard is family thing, and I already start getting misty-eyed a little bit. And Heroes comes out, and oh my god, the Reinhardt cinematic. I don't even play Overwatch. That was incredible. And then World of Warcraft, man, just like, hey, in case you forgot why probably a lot of you started caring too much about this company, here's a cinematic to rock the world.
Yeah, I mean, we were all concerned that, like, they wouldn't have enough for BlizzCon, I think.
Yeah, I
like,
thought it
with
was gonna
how
be
hard they
quiet.
went. Yeah, how hard they went at Gamescom, right? And then, like, BlizzCon, it was insane. I didn't expect the new Overwatch cinematic and stuff too. I had a blast, like, just watching it. Even from the hero stage, the energy is amazing. You know, it starts raining in there a little bit during the sad parts, but it's great, man.
I feel like we finally gave back to Overwatch by giving them Blizzard World.
No. All right. Here's the one thing. So, opening ceremony was amazing. Heroes need to work on their marketing. They need to sell their game better. All right, because everyone else just ate their lunch, and Overwatch straight up did their job and did it better than them with Blizzard World. I think, like, in terms of, like, a marketing hit, like opening ceremony, you know, blow the doors off, start the con kind of thing. I have no complaints about what's coming to Heroes. I'm ecstatic for the changes that we're going to get into the nitty gritty. But as far as just, you know, here's the cinematic and new Heroes, Didn't do it for me this year.
Yeah, I definitely can feel that. Like, I don't even play Overwatch. You didn't hear that, Blizzard. I love Overwatch.
I really like it, but PvP only shooters are not my jam.
Yeah, it doesn't hook me, right? But even then, like, the Overwatch stuff was just amazing. It made me kind of want to play Overwatch, which is a far cry from, like, I'm a Heroes, Hearthstone, StarCraft guy.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll say this. I play a little bit every now and then with friends, and Reinhardt's my dude. So, and I haven't played in a long time, and that cinematic came up, and I was just like, oh, damn, I forgot how much I love Reinhardt. I love how much I love just shielding from my buddies. Not so much for randos, but for my buddies.
And that's the part that I feel like Overwatch went through the fire of their community and the hate and came out made of diamonds. And they love it. The OPAF, the how to spell the hero name, the fact that they made an entire cinematic about the tank should tank. Like, they are so in their own players' heads that surely our heroes, makers have watched some anime. You got to have the two. You can be best friends, but you got to hate each other. You got to know that you both are going to be the one to end each other's lives. That's how you do it. Whereas I think Hanzo and Alexstraza were just friends. They were already friends. Maybe that was like a scheduled duel. They knew it was coming for days. I'm not sure. They needed more hate in their eyes.
To me, the cinematic just felt like a 5-year-old playing with 2 action figures. Like the writing, like it was just, you fought well, Hanzo, yeah, Hanzo. I always get Hanzo and Genji mixed up. But, yeah, I don't know. It's really stilted. I was really stoked to see Alexstraza, like, in all their glory.
yeah. Like, I think maybe it just lacked a little gravity.
Yeah.
Almost. Like, it definitely felt, like, cheery. And I know that's kind of sometimes what they go for with, like, the Nexus stuff, right? Like, a lot of Nexus stuff is more playful. But still, like, you have these 2 dragons, like, really this is, like, showing them off. And, like, it definitely felt...
Yeah, it's like they didn't commit. It wasn't like sentimental enough like the Varian Ragnaros was last year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just silly laugh out loud like really great jokes like when they they had this Garia on friggin' Tinder for the Valentine's short forever ago. Like so it's like they needed to go a little further in one of the directions, and I think they would have really had some. They were really close because all I needed to see was Alexstraza come out in a cinematic, and I'm happy, and I was.
Yeah.
But last year, freaking cried when Varian Cinematic came out. That thing got me misty-eyed.
Yeah, it was intense. It was intense, definitely.
Yeah, that being said, immediately following that was the actual hero reveal trailer, and I thought that was it did an infinitely better job about selling the game of heroes and selling specifically Alexstraza. I'm biased, not the biggest Hanzo fan in the world. But I'm watching that reveal. They've got Alexstraza on there, and I'm like, okay, I'm really stoked. Oh, cool, she's a support. All right, I'm great. This is awesome. But she's probably not going to turn into a dragon. It'll probably just be a silhouette flying in the sky. Oh my God, she's a dragon.
Yeah, when they showed off that she actually turns into a full model dragon, like, look, we have Chromie. She's not a dragon, okay? No. She's not a dragon. You don't feel like a dragon. You pick Alexstraza, you are an MFN dragon. You go hard. You push that cooldown. The cooldown is infinity long, but you are a dragon, and you get to do whatever you want for that time frame. And, like, that kind of, like, amazing, like, moment, I think is something that, like, Heroes doesn't have a lot of in terms of, like, abilities that feel, like, mega impactful. There's, like, Mosh Pit, Void Prison, but a lot of the heroics aren't like that. And Alexstraza, like, has that moment, you know?
And my biggest fear is always that we're going to end up in that world where, well, Malfurion does a slight heal at first, and then it heals over time. So the new hero heals over time, and then at the end, the burst heal comes. Like, no, they actually created a very interesting scenario with her W. I forget the name at the moment, but you lay down the circle, and you can be forced out of it before your team can actually heal. And and you can expect to drop an orb. Like, things are getting weird with the orbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like they're. I really like that you can create an orb because it makes her feel even. It's really lore-like, but in the confines of Heroes, it's like, well, she's a life binder. What does that mean in the Nexus? Oh, well, it'll just make her. She can literally create regen globes. That's rad.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think also a lot of the supports kind of ride that line of, like, we don't have any offensive options, so we, it can feel kind of unimpactful if, like, your heals are on cooldown or whatever. But Alexstraza's fireball ability, I forget the name, like,
I think it's just called Fireball.
It feels Flame buffet. I was calling it, dude. I was calling it. Side note. I was calling it Flame Buffet on my stream the whole time, just to tilt Twitch chat. It was the most glorious.
You
thing,
are
dude.
my spirit
It was-
animal.
I was just Flame Buffet. I was even talking to like a Blizzard dev, and we were both talking about it, and he was in on it too. It was glorious. Like I got so many messages about it's not pronounced buffet.
Yeah, it's all you can eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, all you can cast. And
All the flame you can cast.
it's
yeah.
great. And by the way, like the demo stations here, you have to wear giant, awesome gamer headphones. The sound effect on that fireball that she throws is fantastic. It makes you just want to spam it.
Yeah,
and you
it's
can.
really
It's so
satisfying.
spammable. It's on what, a 1 second cooldown?
I think it's a 2-second cooldown.
Okay, 2,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And like if you chain multiple hits on the same target, you do more damage and like slow them. It feels so satisfying.
Yeah. Are you concerned about the quest talents? She's got them in spades, so.
They're good. They're good quest talents. I mean, that doesn't feel over-quested. I think the orbs will be a bit hard to do, but that's, of course, if you're not amazing and you're getting double orbs in lane now, which we haven't really talked about.
No, we haven't. But we also have completely skipped over Genji because the three of us are biased in that regard. Hanzo, whatever. I hate Hanzo.
Where does this come from?
Okay, it's the opposite of Lucio. Okay, here's the thing. Here's Garrett's world. I don't think Hanzo is objectively bad. I don't think it's like they screwed it up. They actually, for the heroes team, my God, they did a good job again making an Overwatch hero feel like exactly like he does in Overwatch. But here's the thing with Hanzo. It's the opposite of Lucio. You know my Lucio issue. Lucio, I think, is one of the lamest looking characters Blizzard has ever designed. Just looks like he works. He's on a Burger King Happy Meal, or whatever it's called there. Getting my brands mixed up. But it turns out he's one of the most fun damn things to play ever, in my opinion. I know you're not a big Lucio fan.
Okay.
All right. Hanzo looks cool. He's got like the half shirt on, sweet ass tattoos, got a bow and arrow. He can climb up walls. I hate playing him. I hate playing him in Overwatch, and I hate playing him in Heroes.
So you're actually more mad at him because he looks cool.
Well, a little bit. I just think
Okay.
it's interesting that I'm like, Lucio, I'm like, man, he just looks lame, but he's so much fun. And Hanzo, I'm like, man, he looks cool. I never want to play this guy again.
Yeah.
Have you tried the talent where you insta-mount after doing the wall jump? Like, there's some stuff in there. Like, the Splinter Arrow. It does 96 damage at level 1. But it splits, and each one of those splits deals 96 damage. So if you can ricochet it, which isn't perfect, like, the square on the fort is this way, and the ricochets are that way. It's a little busted, but you'll learn if you want to main it. I already know some people who have claimed the Hanzo as their main already. I am frightened for my team league, but I've already gone through the Junkrat. I think we're going to come out of that okay.
So what I was hypothesizing for the Hanzo arrow, scatter arrow, right? Okay. So you take the talent that lets it pierce, right? And then you get a Nazebo on your team, and you throw a Nazebo wall on someone, and you fire a scatter arrow into the Nazebo wall and trap someone in it, and the Nazebo wall pops up after the scatter arrow is inside. Boom, instant deletion.
Oh my God.
It's
Oh,
just-
also Entomb. It probably
I actually think it doesn't work on Entomb
Oh,
because
no.
Nazebo wall I think is the only thing in the game that like creates
Technically counts as
technically
terrain.
structure. I'm not sure though. Like I know they fixed some interactions with Entomb, but someone was saying who I was talking to about Hanzo actually said they tried Entomb and it didn't work. But
Okay.
not confirmed. Just that's what I heard. From
I smell a rework coming on.
maybe.
Yeah, no. Like I wanted to lead with my Hanzo hate because, frankly, they did a really good job. He feels so. His basic attack is forever. Like the speed between basic attacks could not take longer, and I think it's a really cool decision because he's all about his skills, and it makes him feel like an archer, like how I feel. And I don't know jack about archery, but I feel like everything is deliberate. You really have to think about it. You have to draw it back. You have to hold it. You have to aim. You have to lead your shot, and he feels like that. And then also you have your scatter shot, which just it's a badass trick shot.
Yeah, it's definitely on point as far as like none of the range carries I guess other than that feel like marksmen, if that makes sense. Like they all feel like they get in there, they're fast, their attack speed is fast, they're mobile, that sort of stuff. And
Yeah,
like
they just lock on, and
Yeah.
like Tyrande, it's not that much different than from Raynor. It feels like
Yeah.
when you're dealing in basic attacks.
And Hanzo feels completely different. Partially too because like the Q, the wind up time, like you have to calculate like, okay, am I in range through this Q? Like if I wind it up, do I have time? Is that good? and then it combines with his auto attack speed to just feel like everything you do feels like it has to be precise to get value to be good, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, we're going to stop right there and take a break because we have camera issues.
And we're back, talking about Hanzo, but now let's talk about the other changes, the things I'm most excited about. Last time we had a really fun episode, but I broke it for a moment to be dead serious with the team and say they had to do two things. Encourage us on MMR, let us know that something's changing there, and the specialist encouragement of some kind to help this class out. And I feel like we got that. I'm super excited about orbs. I'm really excited about infinite ammo. I'm excited about later objectives so that laning phase can have an exchange and I can kind of 1v1 that guy over there and get that edge for that first shrine. I'm stoked.
First off, I'm really excited for the first time I play a game with you and you die, trying to get that neutral orb. That'll be a good time. But, no, dude, you think we got it? We got so much more than I thought we would ever get in regards to MMR and laning. They just, I don't know. You got your freaking finger on the pulse, dude, because I wasn't really even thinking about it. It had just kind of become the way heroes played. Like, yeah, you push out the lane, they're out of ammo. All right, the minions will take care of it for me. I don't need to put any effort here. And I didn't really think of it as that big of an issue until they talked about it at BlizzCon. I'm like, oh, right, my favorite thing to play is Specialist. That's a huge problem. I'm excited about these changes.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the changes to the laning phase. I think it definitely incentivizes, like you said, like it improves the value of winning your lane. Like getting the second globe and being able to actually apply pressure will definitely make matchups more important, and people have to be cognizant of how they take trades in the laning phase and how they deal with pressure. And I like that ammo is unlimited now because it means the low effort split push is denied a little bit. Like, you know, the Asmo general on the opposite side of the map, the Zagara, Nidus, like, throw it on minions and leave. Like, they're completely safe. They're not at risk. That's going to be less valuable because of the changes to ammo. But it doesn't affect the concerted effort split push that I'm actually risking myself to push these walls down split push. So I think it's going to be really satisfying to kind of improve the importance of the laning phase, but also reduce some of the less fun aspects of dealing with it, you know?
The shockwave of the infinite ammo is going to be fascinating. First of all, Sylvanas might just come back in mad force. Cute Zagara talents that we haven't touched in forever. I'm really curious if we just... Do you think we're just going to drop the dumb four-man multi-soak altogether? Because all you're doing is delivering into a wall that fires it down.
It's definitely going to change the dynamic. I think at the pro level, most of the time, walls were not being destroyed by minions in the early game because of the four-man running out of ammo. Usually the teams draft around the fact that they need the amount of wave clear, you know, to be able to handle the pressure. But I think definitely in lower skill levels of play, less coordinated play than pro, you will absolutely have to see some shift in the dynamics because right now, a lot of the reason to four-man is that the enemy has to respond, and then they probably won't. Unlike Tomb of the Spider Queen, it's really going to change how it works. Like, do you still pick Zool on Tomb of the Spider Queen? You're not running towers out of ammo. Is that good anymore? I don't know.
Well, kind of like, we'll get into the stealth changes later, but like, yeah, I didn't even think about that with like Zool and whatnot. Are they going to have to rework some of the specialists because of the now severely increased strength of the walls?
Well, if anything, I think that could actually be good for the game overall. A lot of the specialists right now are basically in one of two camps. They're either basically an assassin already, or they're basically just a split push bot right now. Like, I think a lot of specialists fall into one of those two roles, and by lessening the impact maybe of how valuable it is to soak ammo, they can make the specialists actually compete against the range carries and against the mages in actual team fighting and not, you know, create a ridiculously overpowered hero like we saw release Zool, for example.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a big Sylvanas and Zagara fan, so I think Sylvanas' stock is just through the roof with these changes, and I'm blind taking Infest from now on as Zagara and feeling great about it. But the other specialists, you're absolutely right. Yeah, there's so much that's changed and coming down the pipeline that we need to look at a lot of heroes and consider how they need to be adjusted.
I completely agree. I think these changes, it's kind of interesting. They're like, conceptually, they're not that big of changes, but they're going to have really profound impacts, I think, on the gameplay, and are going to need testing. They're going to need people to like play the game with an open mind. Like, I think you shouldn't have your pitchfork out yet. I think you should really take the time after you've played 20, 30, 40 games to say, okay, how have these changes actually adjusted my game? Because, I mean, we can sit here in Theorycraft all we want, but we don't know what it's going to be like, you know, to play on these changes in competitive games and Hero League games. So that's my philosophy, is just let's see how it plays out. I think it could do insane things.
And we don't even know of the things that don't change what that impact is. Like, Li Ming gets 2 orbs in a lane. What does that mean? If you still have Regeneration Master on your kit, what does that mean? And stuff like the ammo change, and my favorite thing in the world here is that Samuro, no longer instantly loses his illusions due to a single tower shot, because you're not going to burn it away, so they got to get rid of that. Now we got like this Phantom Lancer thing going on. I'm so excited about those sort of possibilities. Granted, I still would love to hear that maybe crit does spell damage just to help him avoid being blinded out, but still, we're making our way there, and we don't know that world.
Yeah, and anything that increases the value of ad generation just makes me happy. Again, Zagara. So, stealth changes. What do you think?
So the stealth changes are interesting. I think that from a perspective of the health of the game overall, I think it's good. I think, honestly, stealth heroes are one of the most frustrating to deal with for a lot of new players especially. It's a skill that's... Identifying stealth heroes is a skill that's not really part of the game, but it is. And it's a mini game where like you don't get to practice it that often, which makes it feel even worse when you die to that Valera who you didn't see coming because her shimmer is so tiny. So
right, it's something you have to pick up. You have to actively try very hard to be good at it, and it's only in a small percentage of your games.
Yeah, I think that's the reason it's actually so frustrating for so many players. Is it's not like you get to practice every game at spotting stealth. So you play one game out of 5 in a night, and in one game there's a stealthy. That's not enough practice.
Cutting our YouTube commenters off ahead of the pass, there's definitely some people who would argue if you play quick match, you get plenty of practice against a stealthy.
Okay, you may be right, but regardless, now it's not a challenge of will you identify that there's a stealth hero here. It's what do you do about it once you find out. And now you have to use the stealth, which is, I think, kind of a misnomer at this point. So if you're not aware, like the shader that it applies is like an outline that's actually really visible. It's not true stealth. It's just a tactical advantage in the sense that you don't show up on the minimap and you can't be targeted by spells, which is going to take a lot of getting used to.
But if you stop moving entirely, you are full-blown invisible, they've said. Actually, I don't know what happens with the Valera unrevealed thing. I guess she would still be uncloaked, not unrevealed. She'd just be visible in a silhouette still. Yeah. So the same thing happens basically.
Yeah, not too clear on that. Like we're gonna have to. This is something I want to go to the PTR and just see it and just play it and figure out how all of it works. But in theory, I like the idea. Again, all of this, I like everything in theory. We're gonna have to see what comes out, and I could very well be extremely wrong about some of these things. But in theory, I like the idea of having to just sit still to go full stealth, and I like in my head the tactical play that encourages of trying to guess correctly where an enemy is going to path through. Or, and this is very quick play, I don't play with a lot of hammers in actual draft modes, but every draft, anyone who's ever played Hammer knows that yelling at your team, fight in my range. Stealths are going to start yelling, retreat towards me. And it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be this predator ambush BS, and it'll be awesome and terrible if you're on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, the dynamic of that. So you're definitely losing something of the fantasy, like flavor-wise, not having stealth on like a WoW rogue. But if you can compensate by like, oh, I set up this sick ambush the other night, like you imagine setups like that. Like that takes brush ganking to a whole new level because you don't even have to be in a brush. Like they're not just going to randomly check some path of the map. Like, and if they do, they're gods. So it's even better. Like it's going to be really cool, I think.
Yeah. I'm excited about all of it. All of it, absolutely. So. I'm just going to check with our camera lady for time because we can only shoot at 30 minutes at a time and we have to cut this together. 2 minutes? Oh, okay. You can just talk. 20. Okay, we got plenty of time. Any other thoughts on gameplay announcements here?
I just wanted to make sure we were going to catch the MMR thing. You guys
Oh,
only
God,
mentioned it
you're right.
lightly, and it's like a huge deal.
Yes.
It's a
No,
huge deal.
absolutely. Yeah, let's dive in. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
I'm useless without show notes. Yeah. But just go.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't heard the announcement, Blizzard is implementing performance-based MMR into Hero League. So essentially, Blizzard is going to compile like a huge number of stats on how players who are playing your hero in your league in a similar game state fare in those games. And if you are doing better than them, you'll get more MMR on a win and lose less on a loss, for example.
And apparently, they've already been gathering this information in the live game. They're just without telling us.
Not only that, they have made actionable bans on people who have quit playing because they're able to track if you perform usually at a high level and then you just stopped a game. And so they're going to be able to punt down griefers who give up. The core of it, of course, in all our minds, just like my laning orbs, is I'm going to get both orbs. And just like MMR here, I'm thinking, I'm going to be awesome. And clearly I'm going to get all the individual points and climb to riches. That's not going to happen on every case. There's going to be a lot of people who might be upset with this at the end, or learn suddenly that their DPS requires stutter stepping or whatever it is to reach those levels that get you more and more points. They showed us Illidan as an example, and that was interesting to me because one of his sort of credentials for being a good Illidan was taking camps. And that almost is like a stylistic choice that we made in the past with Hunt. Is it right of them now to say, Illidan must take camps to get the points?
I think this is actually a really interesting discussion, and one of the reasons why, when talking about the idea of performance-based MMR, it's always something I've been iffy on. So I've talked to Kaldor a lot about it, and he is the biggest proponent in the whole world of performance-based MMR. He absolutely thinks it's the way to go. And I think it's interesting, but I think there is a risk of Blizzard kind of forcing you on this is how to play the hero, or players like trying to optimize for MMR from personal gain or instead of winning. But I think the fundamental thing is it's still a win-loss based MMR system. It's just adjustments. So if anything, it's more like you get a little gold star or a little negative sign, and you can use that as like actionable feedback, like, oh, maybe I did poorly this game and I didn't realize, and now I can maybe adjust my play, see what I lost MMR for on this win, you know?
Yeah, other than we need to wait and see and actually play it, I have been saying all weekend, wins are still going to play and losses are still going to play a heavy role in the direction you send yourself.
Yeah, they made it very clear you can't lose all your games and climb MMR. That's not an option. So I know they've considered that and looked into that for the system. I'm just hoping it works out. You know, you never know until you actually see it in play.
So far, the opportunities to play the system are pretty silly. Like, you would notice on the enemy side that you had a friend over there. You call him up on Blizzard voice chat, and you say, hey, man, I'm Kerrigan. Let me stun you a few times so I can not lose as many points. Or, hey, dude, just let me take these camps. I know we're losing, but I'm going to go do it, and I'll recover a bit from that.
I just can't imagine that it's weighted enough that would be rewarded. Because that is the fear. That's everyone's anti-individual performance MMR system.
Pretty silly. Pretty silly. No one's going to execute that on a per game, 150 game basis to climb.
Right, exactly. And so that's, I mean, this is the biggest, I think, of everything, even more than the stealth. I think this is the biggest unknown from all this. This is the number one thing at the top of my list of, like, we just need to see it in action.
And what do you do if you're winning games but you're, like, performing poorly and you're
that's the other
losing
thing
games
I'm
and you're
curious
like,
about.
man, I can't blame my team anymore because I'm always losing personal points. Like, uh-oh.
Well, that's the part that's really exciting for me for Hero League, is the performance base is going to encourage you to pick your mains regardless of the actual draft a little bit. I could be a subpar Rhaegar. That is great for my team's comp. But to get more points, I'd be better off on Uther since I'm a more mechanically stun them for this part of my job and heal them for this part of my job, and maybe, I don't know, damage and probably damage reduction with the armor would be his other sort of classifier.
I'm also curious if the weights are fluid depending on the actual game, like itself. Like Vala, I'm assuming, going to be heavily weighted towards killing fools. But what if you were Vala in a game where for over 50% of the game you were behind by 3 levels? Well, then I would think a good Vala would then, like, okay, I'm going to go help with camps. I'm going to help soak XP. And I wonder if in that scenario that all of a sudden her XP column becomes the heavier weight.
I don't know. I mean, that's like, there's just too many unknowns, I think, in the system for us to be able to tell that at this point.
Now you got me thinking, though, like as a learning tool, you get on BOE, Battlefield, and Valas everywhere think this auto attack business is going to be the best, but it's really about like getting in there real quick and throwing out a quick hungering arrow monster hunter. And they'll get to the end of the match and go, wait, but I was wailing on that thing with my auto attacks the whole time. What's wrong with my score? And while we may be forcing Illidan's to take camps kind of world, at the same time, maybe it's actually an encouraging learning tool.
Yeah, I hope it's fluid, because then I think it will be a learning tool. Because you're like, in this scenario, if I had changed up what I usually do, I would have gotten better personal points.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for giving more information to the players, more statistics-driven information. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I want an API. I want all of the pick rates, win rates, all the information. I want that, you know? And so if this is just another tool that gives me more data to reflect on how I performed, that's fantastic. And that's what I hope it really comes down to. I hope that's what it is.
Well, all right, boys. HGC. The finals. We're here actually very shortly after they have wrapped up. This was easy to read. I don't know. It was an understandable story.
Yeah, I think if you were going into this weekend, the only thing that really would have surprised you, knocked your socks off, would be Expert versus Dignitas. I think coming into the weekend, we saw the round of 8, and we're like, okay, it's best of 3s. Anything can happen, guys. Everyone's crossing their fingers behind their back for NA. But then 3 of the 4 favorites progressed. Expert actually defeated Dignitas, but I think almost as surprising as that, both the NA teams, or 2 of the NA teams, actually took teams off of the favorites they were playing against. So Tempo Storm and Roll20 both won their first game in the match, and really showed that the gap had closed a lot between NA and the rest of the world, I think.
Yeah, and NA deserves a lot. They deserve a lot of respect. I mean, especially Tempo Storm and Roll20 both took games off of their competitors who were massively favored, I think, against them. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I think the saddest thing I'm walking away from this weekend with is that the only thing anyone is going to talk about when it comes to Roll20 is that damn Lost Vikings pick. And yeah, I don't understand it, but they deserve to have a more nuanced conversation about their performance here this weekend.
Yeah, there's definitely the opportunity to kind of cherry pick like that draft and that game as like, oh, Roll20 wasn't even close in skill, but let's be honest, even really good teams can mess up a draft and just completely whiff a game. Like, you're on stage, the crowd is insane, it's loud, you have anxiety, like, there's so much pressure. This is BlizzCon, you know, like, sometimes you make a mistake.
You have no idea what happened to them personally, that they could have, their alarm didn't go off. They, like, screamed out of bed. They came here in their boxers. Who knows?
I think even if I show up to BlizzCon in my boxers, though, I probably don't pick Lost Vikings into Zeratul Dahaka, let me be honest.
The through line of the sort of esports meta was a lot less clean than we saw it, perhaps in the semis and up into the finals, where Fnatic was very creative, very, global, as they often are, but MVP kind of stole all the globals at some points. And so we saw for the final game them sort of transition into this more get a pick, Tomb of the Spider Queen, which was the creepy part about it, with the Stitches and the Medivh and the Ana to put them to sleep so you can get the Gorge off, and the Dahaka too for the Medivh portals. Since that was our finals, what do you think sort of the resonating impact of the player base will be? Everyone was saying we're going to walk away from this with double support. Everything's double support. And now, I don't really know.
Just Karazim everywhere. Make peace with Monk.
Yeah, I really was not expecting that much Karazim at the tournament, HC Finals overall. So I think we will see a lot of him, especially with the recent balance changes that gave his move speed to all of his level 1 choices. So now you can pick Insight, Transcendence, or Iron Fist, and all of them give the move speed buff. So I think we'll see a lot of Karazim, even in like Hero League play and stuff, even though only Iron Fists gets used in competitive
First
right
pick?
now. Okay, I think we're going to see a lot. I'm not going to be the one first picking it, though. I don't like Kharazim that much, personally. So I understand. It's a little bit interesting. The reason I think it works so well in competitive is because a lot of competitive is about getting 1 or 1.5 or 2 supports, but you still have to hit a certain level of lethality in order to actually connect with kills in the timing windows you get. So we were seeing some really good Kharazim play where it was like the Kharazim was filling in for that split second when you were bursting a target as an extra assassin because he can with Iron Fists. Yeah. And when you only get a 1 second timing window because that's how long the enemy team is distracted by an Emerald Wind and you have to kill a target in that time, Kharazim's your go-to as far as supports. And that's why I think we saw him be so valuable at this event.
Well, and for MVP Black, they had the Muradin and the Greymane with it, all creating this sort of dive explosion. Was it actually Iron Fist the majority of the time this weekend?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe most of the Kharazims were Iron Fist.
So what about the other through line for me was I was giggling because it was like, oh, well, the team with the worst comp has been losing because we had the Vikings thing. All right, but then we also had in the finals, the first game, MVP Black took just a clown fiesta. I don't know what they were doing with that composition, and it didn't work out at all, not even close. And then the last game of the finals, which was actually, I think, the closest game of the finals and the best game of the finals, we did still see Fnatic with what everyone was scratching their heads over as far as their composition, and it inevitably did not pay off.
Yeah, it seemed like at a lot of other global events, I want to say sometimes teams come in with weird strategies, unique strategies, off-meta picks, and then they at least have one outstanding game with it or something. But I feel like at this event, it really was, the standard safe picks that won out at the end of the day. Just play standard. Every time we saw a team deviate from that, it seemed like they lost.
The whole time in the finals, I was just yelling at Fnatic, like, you got Rhaegar, just pick Lucio. It worked really well on your last set.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like watching the Medivh picks, like I know Medivh is good, but I feel like it just adds so much complexity to what you're trying to do on your team. Like, and the Medivh Stitches is so one-dimensional, and then MVP Black, after their first clown show, they just played standard, like safe stuff, globals, normal stuff.
Yeah, just use your catchphrase, man. Just say burden of execution, and it's fine.
Okay, yeah.
You need to trademark that.
Absolutely, yeah. The Medivh Stitch is completely burden of execution. Like, you have to set everything up just right, and when the other team can just kind of walk at you, that's not the place to be. I mean, we saw who else was it that tried to use? It was the Roll20 game. Never mind, doesn't count. They tried to use Stitches and got completely stumped because their opponents could just walk at them.
We good? Okay, it just feels like it's been a lot longer. I think one of the things that I really want to see people pull from this was that Chromie play in the final game. It was so team-based, actually. Like, it's an insane pick, but they saw the Stitches coming and said, oh, we'll just stop him from reaching the portal, and then also using the time slow as a sight around the turn-in. Things I'd never seen before out of people who just want to lob as hard as they can.
Yeah, I don't want people to take away that Chromie is actually a good hero because I don't want to play against it. So if we could just keep that under wraps, not talk about the last game, there was no Chromie, just rewind a little bit, it'll be okay.
Was there any other star performances you saw or certain heroes sort of go out of their normal box?
I'm not sure about go outside of the normal box, but at this event, we saw Muradin be absolutely devastating, and some of the synergies between the Muradin and Brightwing, bringing a Brightwing in right as you land, you stun, Emerald Wind goes off 100%. Like, MVP Black executed that so perfectly.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that Muradin backdooring. They would sneak around at both teams, and eventually Fnatic grabbed it too for their Battlefield of Eternity, and leap around into the back, leaving maybe a Dahaka as the front line, or whatever, they had some bruiser. Is that viable? Should Muradins be looking to...
Well, the thing that makes it viable is just how well the teams execute on a kill like that. Like, some of the kills were probably in the space of 0.5 seconds. It went from, this person is totally safe, to, oh my gosh, the entire MVP Black team is on this Gul'dan and he's dead. Like, that level of execution and coordination, you're just not going to find that in Hero League.
Right, so, yeah. If you're in a Hero League game without comms, although soon that will not be an issue, unless you're just muting everybody because it turns into Xbox Live. If you like you said, it's within half a second. Like in Hero League, even if you're all really on point, you're still probably going to take about 2 seconds to react to a play like that, and by then it's most likely too late.
Yeah.
Did any of you get to try the comms on the floor?
I did play the comms on the floor a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know it was on the floor. How was it?
Yeah. It was okay. It was okay. I mean, historically, I don't think Blizzard has had the best track record for in-game voice comms. Like, I remember when WoW voice comms launched, it was not the hot.
All right, hold on. WoW voice comms were the worst in the history of anything, and the Battle.net one is actually pretty solid.
Okay, so maybe it was the headsets we were using here or something. I mean, it was functional. Don't get me wrong. It did function. It seemed like the quality maybe was not that great, but who knows?
There's still a half-second delay because when I'm playing with my wife in the living room and we have music going or something, we put on the comms, but I can still hear that engage. But I got the pleasure of, I think, I'm expecting to be the most casual experience of voice comms on the floor. This Arthas I got to play with, just some guy. I'm bodying. Look at me, watch me. I'm disrespect. I'm all disrespect. And he's running into their fountain over. Look at me, guys. Look at me go. Look. Free Lucer. And just the spam of his shot calls was fantastic. It gave me tons of focus. And I'm just on Alexstraza. I'm like, I'm going in the air. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's my contribution.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think the voice comms are going to be great for the game.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, don't play a lot of Overwatch, but when I do, and yes, I've had bad voice comm experiences, but when I have good ones, it's almost always a win. Almost always. It's just incredible. Like you get in there, make friends. Just be nice. Get in there and start making jokes. Ask people if they saw Thor this weekend. Connect.
Yeah, man. Like, some of my fondest memories are just from playing games in voice comms. So now that is like built into the system. Like, it's just like chat. Look, sometimes you're going to have a bad time because of chat, but you have the option to turn it off. That doesn't discount the hundreds of times that you're going to have, like, great experiences. Meeting people you wouldn't have met otherwise, talking to people, like, making friends. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's why we're playing online games.
Absolutely.
That's why you come to BlizzCon.
That's why BlizzCon's so damn unforgettable. Like, it's, God, I'm just feeling so mushy about this weekend. This has been the best BlizzCon for me personally. Like, I've just been so floored by everything, and it's not just because I got to be on a panel. Like, I couldn't believe how much they had to show us in that opening ceremony. Like we said, we thought that they had already just blown everything they ever had to show, and it was like, no, they showed us all that because they still had so much in the chamber. So it's I don't know, it's been great, and so has this. This has been fantastic. So Dunk, before we leave, where can folks find you?
Folks can find me on Twitter at DunkTrain or on twitch.tv/DunkTrain, where I stream most weekdays in the afternoon, evening Pacific time.
Badass. Kyle?
You can find me also on Twitch at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. And, well, this fine show, of course. You're already here.
Yep. And, of course, Garrett Art on Twitter and amove.tv for everything. As always, folks, good luck, have fun. And if you're not here, I want to see you next year. It's been fantastic.